An immeasurable loss for Bianca Huntley's family, not just because she was murdered, but so was her unborn child.
She was expecting, 4.5 months pregnant. I believe it was to be a baby girl that she was going to name Heaven.
Atlanta police say they got a call about a person shot last Tuesday around 6:15 to I-75 North, just before the I-20 interchange. Cops found her shot in her white BMW on the shoulder.
Her turn signal was still blinking. Think about that for a second. A white BMW SUV pulled over on the median of one of the busiest interstates in Atlanta, rush hour traffic roaring past. And her turn signal was still blinking, like she had somewhere she needed to be, like she was still trying to get there. But Bianca Huntley was already gone. When officers arrived at Interstate 75 northbound near North Central Avenue on the evening of April 14, 2026, they found her inside that SUV, shot, barely alive. She had been hit in the arm and the torso, and according to her mother who has had to carry this, Bianca had tried to fight back. She tried to get out of the car. She tried to dial 911. She tried, with everything she had left, to survive. She was 34 years old. She was a mother of 2, and she was 4.5 months pregnant. The baby girl she was going to name Heaven never took her first breath, and the woman who named her was pronounced dead at Grady Memorial Hospital that same evening, while her daughter sat home, probably wondering why Mama hadn't come through the door yet. And here's what makes this case so deeply unsettling, and why we cannot let it disappear into the noise. Nobody knows who did this. The gun that ended 2 lives on that highway is still out there. And right now, the only thing standing between justice and silence is people who refuse to look away. That's you. That's us. Before we go any further, if you believe that every victim deserves to have their story told, that real people behind real headlines deserve more than a 30-second news clip, please take 5 seconds right now. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Mystora Crimes. Click the bell so you never miss when we cover cases like this one. It is completely free, and it is one of the most powerful things you can do to keep stories like Bianca's alive. These families need witnesses. Be one. Now, let's keep going. To understand what was taken on April 14th, you have to understand who Bianca Huntley actually was. Not the headline, not the statistic, but the woman. She grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, and by all accounts, she lit up every room she walked into. Her older brother Zeke described her as someone who could turn any negative into a positive. He said there were times when he was the one struggling, and it was his little sister, Bianca, who would tell him to pick his chin up. Think about that dynamic for a moment. She was a younger sibling, and she was the one holding the family together emotionally. That's not a small thing. That tells you something about the kind of person she was wired to be. About 9 years before her death, Bianca made a decision that changed the trajectory of her life. She packed up and moved to Atlanta alone. No guarantee of success, no safety net spelled out for her. She just went, and what she built in that city by herself with her own 2 hands and an apparently unshakable belief that she could do it. It's the kind of life most people only talk about building. By the time she was 30 years old, Bianca owned her home. She was raising 2 daughters, London, who was 14, and little Ariana, who was 5, on her own, not with help from a co-parent sharing the load equally. On her own, she had climbed the ranks at DHL, the global shipping giant, working out of their McDonough facility. Her title? Quality Manager. And just before she died, she had received a promotion. Her mother, Gloria, told reporters that Bianca was active in the process of building out her team, hiring, mentoring, leading, when her life was taken. Her colleagues at McDonough didn't even find out until Bianca's family made the drive down to tell them in person, because police had taken Bianca's phone and belongings as part of the investigation. When they walked in and broke the news, those co-workers broke down. Not polite sadness, not workplace-appropriate composure. They broke down, and her mother said something that stopped me cold when I read it. She said it didn't break her heart. It made her proud, because her daughter had been that kind of light to people who weren't even family. That is who Bianca Huntley was. Now I need you to sit with something. A woman like that, organized, driven, a quality manager overseeing teams, a homeowner, a mother, does not move through the world carelessly. She had routines. She had responsibilities pulling at her from every direction. She had people depending on her. Every single day, she got up, handled her business, and drove that commute, which means the evening of April 14th was not unusual for her. It was Tuesday, rush hour, I-75, the same route she almost certainly drove regularly. She was on her way home. That's it. That's all she was doing. So what happened? Here is where the case stops being heartbreaking and starts being deeply, genuinely strange. When Atlanta Police Department's homicide unit began piecing together what happened, they ran into an immediate problem. A woman was found shot in her car on one of the most heavily trafficked interstates in the entire country in the middle of rush hour, and investigators could not determine exactly where she had been shot. Let that sit. We are talking about I-75 in Atlanta. Traffic cameras everywhere. Thousands of cars on the road. And yet, the working theory from the APD homicide unit is that Bianca was shot at a different and currently unknown location, and then her car ended up on the median of I-75 near North Central Avenue, where she was found. She had been shot badly enough that she was trying to get out of the car and call 911, yet she or her vehicle traveled some unknown distance before stopping. How far did she drive after being shot? Where exactly did the shooting happen? What caused it? Was there another car involved? Was there a confrontation? These are questions that, as of the time of this video, have no public answers. Investigators said they were reviewing traffic camera footage and analyzing cell phone pings to try and reconstruct the timeline. That is a meticulous, slow process. It tells us that the scene itself gave them very little to work with immediately. No witnesses have publicly come forward. No other vehicles have been identified. And then there's a question that Bianca's mother raised, and I think it's one we should not brush past. Gloria Allen told reporters directly that she does not believe this was random road rage. She believes her daughter was targeted. Now, I want to be very clear here. That is not confirmed. Police have not publicly stated a motive. Road rage remains a possibility. A random act of violence is a possibility. But Gloria Allen is Bianca's mother. She knew her daughter. She knew her life. And when a mother who is deep in grief still finds a presence of mind to say, I don't think this was random, that is worth paying attention to. What could she know or suspect that we don't? What does a mother see in her daughter's life that the outside world doesn't? That's not a rhetorical question. That's the question that could break this case open. Let's talk about what we don't know. Because in true crime, the gaps are often where the truth is hiding. We don't know who was on that road with Bianca. We don't know if she was followed from her workplace in McDonough. We don't know if there was a confrontation earlier in the day, earlier in the week. We don't know the nature of her personal relationships outside of what her family has shared publicly. We don't know if anyone in that rush hour traffic saw something and hasn't yet come forward, out of fear, out of not realizing what they witnessed, out of something else entirely. Here's something that keeps turning over in my mind. Bianca's car ended up on the median with her turn signal still on. Her mother said she tried to get out and call 911. That means, in the moments after being shot, Bianca was still conscious enough to try to act. She pulled over. She put on that turn signal. Whether instinct or intention, she did everything right in the worst possible moment. She fought. That is not the behavior of someone who was caught completely off guard in a random spray of bullets. That sounds like someone who was responding to something, try to escape something. But again, that is analysis, not confirmed fact. The investigation is active, and the truth is somewhere in that stretch of highway and whatever preceded it. What we do know is this. Someone out there knows what happened. It was rush hour in Atlanta. People were in their cars, stopped in traffic, merging, watching. Cell phones were out. Dash cams were rolling. Someone saw something. And right now, they haven't come forward. The reward is $5,000, offered by Crime Stoppers, for information leading to an arrest. The Atlanta Police tip line is 404-577. Tips. You can submit anonymously at crimestoppersatlanta.org. And Bianca's family has set up a GoFundMe for her two daughters, London and Ariana, who are now growing up without their mother and without the baby sister they never got to meet. A baby girl who is going to be named Heaven. I've covered a lot of cases on this channel. And one of the things I've learned is that cases like this Cases where a woman is targeted in broad daylight, in public, in traffic, with no arrest, follow a pattern that is deeply psychological in nature. The public location could mean one of two things. Either this was completely random, an opportunistic act of violence with no personal connection, or the location was deliberate, because what better place to do something than somewhere it looks like it could be random? Think about the psychology of that for a moment. If someone wanted to harm Bianca and make it look like a road rage incident, where would they do it? On a highway, during rush hour, where the chaos of traffic makes it nearly impossible to trace a single car, where witnesses are moving at 60 miles an hour and probably aren't looking for what just happened. That is not an accusation. That is a question. And it's the question that investigators are almost certainly asking themselves right now as they comb through that camera footage. Here's what I want you to think about and put in the comments below. Do you believe this was a targeted attack? And if so, what does that say about how dangerous it is for women, especially black women, especially single mothers, simply moving through their daily lives? Bianca wasn't in a dangerous situation. She was driving home from work, and that wasn't enough to protect her. And tell me what you think. Do you believe this was random? A senseless, horrifying act of violence that had nothing to do with who Bianca was as a person? And if so, what does that say about the world she and all of us are living in? Because either answer is devastating, and either answer demands more than silence. Bianca Huntley was almost home. Her daughters were waiting. A baby girl named Heaven had a whole future ahead of her. And someone on that highway made a choice that erased all of it. We are not going to let the story die quietly. Not here. Not on this channel. If you have not subscribed to Mystora Crimes yet, please do it right now. We cover the cases that deserve more than a 48-hour news cycle. We sit with the victims. We ask the hard questions. And we keep the pressure on until there are answers. Click subscribe. Click the bell. And drop your theory in the comments, because I read every single one. For Bianca, for Heaven, for London and Ariana, justice is still possible, but only if we keep asking.